This is Michael Trucco coming to you live. Well, you know. You want to know about Hush, you want to know about Midnight Mass, obviously both from the extraordinary mind of Mike Flanagan. This is something that I've learned over the years. This is my advice to you. This is what I like to share with people. My advice to you, don't go out there. That's my advice. Don't go out there. Lots of love, lots of hugs. Be well. Take care.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all support. We can't stress enough how much we appreciate all of our fans and listeners. Y'all really make this show special. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. You know, we've got everything about this podcast on our website. Definitely want to check that out. We got all of our episodes and interviews if you want to listen there. We've got our store. We got some new merch up, some new t-shirts. We have Shan's Etsy page attached to our website. You know, if you want to get a tumbler or check out her Etsy page, she's got some really cool designs on there. Check that out for sure. We've got our blog. You know, we've got our think pieces up if you ever want to read those, hear our thoughts outside of the show. And we got all of our social media links because, you know, our world is very social media driven. We got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Give us a follow on those. Subscribe, like us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. And we got a lot of comments tonight, so I'm looking forward to reading those tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, too, if you're a new listener and you haven't, maybe gone back through the archives, I mean, we're over 190-something episodes now. So, I mean, it's a lot of episodes. You know, if you didn't know that, we actually have interviewed a lot of horror celebrities, from Robert Englund to Kane Hodder to Heather Langenkamp to Lynn Shay. We just did an interview with James Jude Courtney. Guy Busick, the writer from the new Scream and Ready or Not. Like, we have almost 60 interviews. And if you don't want to go digging through all of our archives, go to don'tgoouthere.com and go to the interviews page. We've got them all right there, easy for you to find.
Absolutely. That's the way I listen to them. If I ever want to re-listen to old interviews, it's just a lot quicker to find them that way than instead of digging through 195, 196 episodes. Last thing I'll shout out is our Patreon, what we call blood donors. We got two different kinds. We got the traditional monthly reoccurring. Really takes a big burden off of us. I can't stress that enough. We really appreciate all financial support we get every month. Helps us pay for our SoundCloud and our website hosting and stuff like that. All of that goes towards this podcast. We don't make any money off of this. It just takes the burden off of us, and we really appreciate you. And we have the one-time donation. Let's say you're a big fan of a movie, you want us to review that, and you want to expedite the process, or you want to come on our show and review it with us. Both of those options are available. But that's all the business talk. Let's jump into tonight's film review. Tonight is Brother Mike's pick. This is our second entry in Home Invasion Month. Mike, go ahead and announce your pick.
Yeah, so I settled on the movie Hush, which I don't know if I don't believe it's a Netflix original, but it's been on Netflix for a really long time, and that's where I watched it in order to do this show. Mike Flanagan is the director. Big fan of Mike Flanagan stuff. I love Haunting of Hill House. I love Midnight Mass. Really love Dr. Sleep, and I'm gonna come off the top and say I really like this film. I think it's a little different from a lot of the stuff.
Mike, what did you rate Oculus?
Okay, well, let that be the exception to the rule. Everyone's got one. Okay, even Wes Craven did a rom-com, buddy. Anyway.
Oh, wait a minute. Oculus is anyway. Go ahead.
It's a bad movie. Yeah, you're right. It is.
I'm just messing with you, Mike. I'm just messing with you.
You're not wrong though, and I almost forget. I'll say this: I like this movie a lot. I think it's a little different from a lot of the other stuff that he's done. This movie is a short watch. That's a good thing. I don't ever think it drags. And I see a lot of stuff online about, well, there's what feels like maybe some filler here. But I personally think it does a really good job keeping it tense, keeping it suspenseful. There's not a lot of dialogue, obviously, because the lead character is a deaf mute. Okay. So you have to kind of supplement that dialogue with facial acting. And I think Kate Siegel does a great job here in her performance. I think she's phenomenal. And supporting cast that is in this, since there's only like 3 other people, I think they also do a really good job. So I love the way this movie is shot. I love that it's single location. I think it's a really enjoyable movie from start to finish, just as far as just a quick, suspenseful thriller, horror. Like, I really like what it does. It's different. The first time I ever saw it, I was like, that's not what I expected when I clicked on this movie. It had a guy in a mask, standard, typical home invasion movie, looked like a Stranger's ripoff. Just wasn't really sure. Didn't know Mike Flanagan directed it in the first place. So that's kind of one of those things that, as you can kind of go back in people's catalog, you see, oh yeah, outside Oculus, I like everything he does. So I'm excited to talk about it. I think this movie kind of takes the home invasion tropes and flips them ever so slightly. And I like that about this movie as well.
I cannot sit by idly and let you slander the one movie that Nico picked that I like. This is some bullcrap.
Oculus stinks, pal. Move on.
I thought Dustin didn't like Oculus before.
No, I did.
Before
I
he
did.
kicked back.
I gave Oculus a 6, and that's not to say I didn't like it. No.
6 isn't a bad. That's not bad.
6 is
not a
above
bad rating.
average. 6 is above average.
it's
And
not a
Mike
bad
gave it a
rating.
6.5, and he's saying he hated it. Wait, no.
I do.
No, you gave it a 5.5. But still.
Let's say, wait a minute.
But you got to remember, though, that was also episode 35. I was much harsher on films back then. So a 6 for me was really like a 7.5 to 8. I enjoy Oculus. I liked it.
All right, I'll go next. Mike, I agree with you. I like this movie, but I definitely don't love it. I got some issues with it, but I do have a lot of things I like about it. Like you said, Mike Flanagan, Kate Siegel, they're great in everything I've watched them, seen them in. The only thing by Mike Flanagan that I've somewhat watched and didn't care for was just Bly Manor, just because I thought the first couple episodes bored me to tears, honestly. Couldn't get into it, but I am going to give it another chance down the road. Really like the concept of this movie, a deaf woman all alone going against a home invader. I like that. I do think it gets a little monotonous in the middle, just watching her follow this guy in a circle over and over through these windows. Even though the movie's only an hour and 20 minutes, it could probably cut 10 minutes of it still. But it is still a quick watch. I remember watching the first time when it first came out on Netflix, really liked it. I'll say I didn't like it quite as much, but I still do like this movie. And I'll say Mike Flanagan is probably top 5 of my favorite writer, directors out right now, maybe all time if I think about it. I think he's great. Haunting a Hill House, love it. Oculus, I know some of y'all aren't a big fan, but I like that a lot.
You got to see Midnight Mass, bro. You got to.
It's on the agenda.
Midnight Mass.
The Origin of Evil,
Awesome.
I like that. Annabelle Creation. I like what he's done, and I'm excited for Dr. Sleep down the road when y'all pick that as well. But like I said, this movie's all right to me. It's not perfect. It's not great, but I enjoy it. I'll watch it again.
He did do
Brian,
the only good Annabelle movie. Good for him.
And Brian would lead you to believe that he did the only Shining movie, even though I think that's false. But anyway, go ahead.
He did the only good Shining movie.
No.
Anyway, go ahead.
Hey man, can we kick our own producer off? Is that something that's doable?
Brian gave The Shining a 7 too, and he's like acting like it was god awful.
No.
We're not going to revisit that.
He gave it a 7 out of respect. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, so first off, I really liked this movie. I was actually a little hesitant to watch it because it kind of gave me a Quiet Place vibes, even though I know this was released first. But I'm so glad I watched it. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm like Nico, I'm definitely becoming a Mike Flanagan stan. He's probably, I wrote the same thing, that he's becoming one of my favorite writers, directors in the business. I think Oculus may have been the first thing that I saw of his. And that was okay. But watching his Netflix series and some other things he's done, like we talked about, Dr. Sleep, I fucking love. He's probably top 2 or 3 horror writers and directors in the business as far as my favorites. And we talked a touch with friend of the show, Michael Trucco, who plays John in this movie. So hang around after the episode and, kind of like we did with the Mayhem episode, you get a little behind the scenes from Michael Trucco, but just a little sneak peek, a little tidbit that I thought was hilarious. He was actually in Flanagan's Midnight Mass, and he said, obviously, and this one, but he said that Flanagan and Siegel had just gotten married and banged out the script probably could have used a better choice of words there. But I mean, they banged out the script in 48 hours to this. So it's in pretty over a weekend, basically. So it's pretty impressive. Now, the movie does have some nitpicks, and I completely agree with Nico. And, it's about I think it's the scene 6 and 7, whatever that of our notes that it starts going slow for me. But, it does have some nitpicks, but overall, I'm a big fan of this one.
Dustin, right before you go, Brian, did you notice that Samantha Solian plays her friend Sarah, who is that bitch from Midnight Mass that everyone?
Yeah.
I've
got in my notes that it
looks like a completely different human.
Unrecognizable.
Yes.
Unrecognizable.
Sorry, Dustin, go ahead.
Oh, you're good, man. So I remember the first time I watched this movie. Oh yeah, because it was like 5 days ago. But I jokingly texted y'all in the chat when we was like, oh, we're watching Hush now. I just went to, I think it was HBO Max. I didn't know what Hush was on, so I went to HBO Max and I typed in Hush, and a movie called Batman Hush came up. I was like, yes, thank God, Mike's picking something with some culture. But I was wrong.
I would never fucking pick a superhero movie
It's okay.
as my own choice. It would have to be against my will.
It's okay. I'll let it slide. So, but then I looked into the movie and I was like, oh, okay, Mike Flanagan. Oh, Kate Siegel. First of all, I want to say Kate Siegel, beautiful. Call me sometime. I digress. Getting to the movie. Did I like it? That might be a stretch, but I didn't dislike it. So I think it's a pretty okay movie. I have my nitpicks, and we'll get into that when we get through the scene by scene. 80 minutes could have realistically been cut to about 15 minutes if I'm in charge of this thing, just because I don't think that the storyline is deep enough to justify 80 minutes, in my opinion. I do like the singular location. You mentioned that, and I love that. I love the singular location because think about that. Once I realized, I don't know that I can name another movie that literally shows no other location. And I'm sure that they'll come to me, and I'm sure that our comments will let us know if I'm wrong. But think about that. Like, that's hard to think about, or it's hard to come up with a film that strictly sticks to one location and doesn't even show you a flashback of another location. So that's cool. I also like the hints that they give along the way. Mike Flanagan's a big Stephen King fan, so we get some Stephen King novels in the movie. We see her second book is called Midnight Mass, which we've talked about, is a spinoff series on Netflix that Mike Flanagan was at the helm of, and is also a great series. I think that for Kate Siegel to just absolutely crush this role as a deaf mute person, like, that speaks volumes to her acting, because a lot of people's acting it relies on how well they can read a script and make you believe it's just their real dialogue. She has no dialogue. She has her internal dialogue that we hear in the movie. But that's, who cares? Like, that's that's not her visually speaking something, and audibly speaking something to another cast member. I think that's great. Would I watch it again? Probably, because it is a short movie, but I don't think it does anything. It didn't do enough to make me be like, yeah, I'm definitely seeking this one out again. So I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's a pretty okay movie.
Real quick, Nico, it's really interesting to see John Gallagher's character in this and his character in Belko. Holy shit. The difference. Anyway.
Alrighty, any more opening thoughts where you just jump right into it? Alright, the film starts with cool shot zooming into Maddie's remote home. She's preparing dinner from an online recipe. She gets an iMessage, and yes, I did clarify it was an iMessage because it's Team iPhone over here. She gets an iMessage from her neighbor Sarah about coming over. She closes her computer and puts it on the charger. Sarah asks her what she's cooking. Maddie shakes some cat food around in a bowl, and the cat comes inside. We see Sarah walking up now as they joke about her cooking catching on fire. The two ladies hug, and Sarah says she finished her book. She's been taking lessons on sign language. Maddie asks what did she think of her book. She loved it, and the characters. She was way off on the ending. Maddie says that's from having a writer's brain. She says she has a voice in her head. Maddie says the voice in her head sounds like her mom. Sarah says she's a good storyteller. The smoke detector goes off, and they rush inside. Sarah says that's one hell of a fire alarm. Maddie has to be able to feel the vibration since she can't hear. Sarah apologizes about dinner and asks if Maddie wants to come over. She can't. She has to work. Sarah says she'll come over tomorrow to practice her signs and walks off. Maddie deletes a text from an old flame. She goes back inside and we see midnight mass and we see of when she got her sickness that caused her to go deaf. Maddie is on the computer again writing. She she voices scenes in her head. She goes to FaceTime Craig and then she hangs up. She calls again and hangs up again. Craig calls her back, but she slams her laptop. Maddie is cleaning up the kitchen, throwing the dinner away. We see Sarah banging on the kitchen door frantically. We see her get shot with an arrow, and now the masked man runs up to her and stabs her repeatedly, all while Maddie can't hear anything. The killer looks in and watches her. She can't hear him tapping on her window. He drags Sarah's body off the porch. Craig calls on FaceTime again, but she ignores it. Back to the computer, and we see her sliding glass door open. The killer is in Maddie's house now, standing behind her. Maddie answers Max's FaceTime, and they chat. She asks if Maddie is still stuck on the ending. Maddie tells her she signed up for a deaf dating site. Max wants her to come back. She's worried about her out there all by herself. Max asks who is that behind her, and we see the killer take her phone. Maddie thinks it's just the cat. Maddie gets the cat food bowl and starts to shake it to find it. No luck as she walks to her house. She opens her sliding door and shakes the bowl, and still no answer. Maddie grows concerned. She puts on her jacket and sits back on the computer. She gets a message from her phone on her computer. She opens it, and someone took a picture of her, and she gets more messages of someone watching her. All right, Brian, that's the first little opening sequence I got. Go ahead.
First off, look, you motherfuckers have got to put some sounds on this Bloomhouse and Intrepid logo intro because I'm looking around thinking my TV didn't have any sound.
Same.
And then, bam, the fucking Hush title hits.
We all had the same experience.
About
Absolutely.
knocks my ass off my feet. I mean, I know that's probably intentional and pretty cool, but still, fuck you, Flanagan, you brilliant son of a bitch. Anyway, the sound design I thought was brilliantly done. You know, Mike touched on that earlier. We've said multiple times in different movies about different stuff. It really becomes its own character. But here it's like a starring role. Shout out to Katie Siegel, who's been magnificent in literally everything I've seen her in. But this may be her best performance that I've ever seen. We've said this a few times. You know, Dustin brought it up earlier when in his intro, but I Am Legend being one of the times that we brought it up. But you better be spot fucking on to carry an entire movie basically by yourself, and she does it without speaking. I'm very impressed with Siegel after this. Mike brought it up. We're introduced here to Samantha Sloy and Sarah, who, has definitely become a staple in, I was going to say Flanagan's work, but shit, it's probably Flanagan Siegel's work. How about that? But she played such a good bitch in Midnight Mass, like Mike brought up, and to me, like, just unrecognizable here. And, kind of speaking of this Easter egg with Midnight Mass book that Dustin brought up, and even them talking about the characters from that show. Look, that's one thing if it had come out before this movie, but the fact that Midnight Mass didn't come out till 5 years later is so fucking cool to me. I mean, like, really fucking cool. Like, I don't know, but what I would have liked to have seen here that would have paid off later, and props in that regard. They do a lot in this set of scenes that pays off later with the multiple endings thing. But what would have went a long way with me is just putting in some line about this glass. Like, I don't know, Sarah saying that she likes this new reinforced glass she had installed or something, because it drove me insane this entire movie. And I know he said it was going to toy with her some and after he was hurt a little bit, but we'll get there. But it being so hard to break later with a crowbar, I don't know. I needed a little line here for my own liking. I love the character development, but not too much because, I mean, really, we need to care some about Maddie, but also it's not really crucial to the story here. So I feel like that we get just enough. I would have liked to have seen Craig, though, play into this a little bit more. I half expected him to show up instead of Sarah's boyfriend. And honestly, that may have made a little bit more sense with the police thing and caring about him a little bit more. But I don't know. I'm not trying to write friend of the show Michael Trucco out of this movie, so we can move on. The last thing I'll say, though, is Sarah being thrown into that door, I thought was a great jump scare. They definitely lured me into a lull. And the flipping back and forth between her perspective and what was actually happening, I thought was brilliantly done. Even with her perspective, hearing the heartbeat and not just a silence, I thought was great.
Yeah, I had the same experience as you, with these opening credit shots. It's just quiet, and I'm like, what the Because, I had this I have a sound bar in the living room, and sometimes I accidentally turn it on instead of the TV volume, and I need to kind of fix that. And I'm like, I got to turn the TV up. Whoa, right? Really fucking loud. I'm like,
Soundbar. Sounds like something a rich guy would own.
this is an old sound bar. It's not fancy. It's just Bluetooth. Anyway, man, sound bar's basic. Man, kiss my ass. How about that?
I ain't got a sound bar.
Yeah, you
Nope,
have a
nope.
another. Okay, I like this set of scenes. It's a little slow until you get, right when she gets kind of sent or even before the pictures. It's a little slow until the friend's like, "Hey, what was that behind you?" But we're still kind of building some character. I did find it interesting that they're kind of touch on the character of Craig, and they kind of touch on the backstory. Or they kind of touch on Maddie's backstory, but we don't really know what happened. And I think that kind of bothered me a little bit throughout the film. Brian, you mentioned it not being crucial to the plot. I agree. I just kind of wish I had known why she moved out to this secluded area by herself from the city. She made the really funny joke that it was too loud. That was really good. I'm not going to lie. Whichever one of them wrote that line, I thought was that was classic. But I'm not sure if Kate Siegel already knew that, or already knew American Sign Language, but she picked it up really easy if she didn't. I don't know if anybody has fun facts on that, but I thought, that was really cool to see.
How do we know that was real sign language? Maybe she was making it up.
I don't think so.
Are you fluent? Are you fluent?
No, but I know some stuff, and I know enough to know that she has some words right.
Sidebar, when I just asked you, are you fluent? It reminded me of the great David Arquette in Ready to Rumble when Rose McGowan says, "Are you fluent?" And he goes, "No, I feel fine." Anyway, go ahead.
Always back to David Arquette. Can't kill
Always
him.
back.
Can't kill him. All right, so I do like that this set of scenes uses some really tense stuff once you kind of get the stuff happening with Sarah outside. I love the switching of perspectives. I love, it was really good towards the plot. Okay, she's deaf, and now there's this like unbreakable ass glass that nobody can get through, but she can't hear it any damn way. So we have to kind of watch Sarah die and her be powerless to stop it because she doesn't hear it. I had this feeling they would have gone the way where she had seen it, but or excuse me, felt it, but they didn't go that direction. I think it's a really good scene, man. You hear the heartbeat, you kind of get it from Maddie's point of view, and I really, really like that. I love the suspense and tension they start to use when I believe the friend's name is Max. When they're talking and she points out that she saw something move, the first time I ever saw this, I said, "Oh shit," it's Are you gonna be in the house, outside, like really, really creepy stuff. But then you kind of see him take her phone, all that stuff. I love they're using some modern technology in this film because a lot of horror films just kind of forget modern technology exists. As much as I love the new Scream, we're looking at you with the house phone. Come on, man, what are we doing? But I love that they're kind of, he's he knows how to use a phone. He's not some bumbling moron that's just out stabbing people. He's smart and cunning, and he takes pictures of her, and it creeps her out. And I think even at this point, he's realizing she's deaf. And so this is the only way he's going to be able to scare her, to mess with her, to fuck with her, is to send her pictures that I'm in your house, I'm watching you. I think that's a really interesting way to, kind of twist a normal home invasion slasher. So that's all I had. I like the set of scenes, but I really like the last part of this set because I think we really start to get into some really good suspense stuff.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good open. First of all, we get the ASMR of heaven. Like, I don't know about y'all, but my, I guess now ex-girlfriend, she was like obsessed with the TikToks. It's just like sounds and people holding stuff up to the microphone and tapping on it or opening it or doing whatever. And it's just, that's what it reminded me of watching this. It was just ASMR sounds. And it was a really soothing experience, honestly. And it really sets the tone, lets you know, especially when they push mute on that. It's like, oh, okay, she's deaf. Because I didn't read about this movie before I pushed play. I had no idea she was deaf. I also was scrambling for the remote thinking that, oh, is my TV muted right now? What's going on? When the title card or when the, production's title cards was rolling, I thought that my TV was broken or something. And then we get the sounds, and then it's, oh, okay, I get it. She's deaf. But anyway, I like how they introduced the neighbor. It's a very organic way to introduce her, right? Like, she gets a text while she's cooking. It's like, hey, can I stop by? She's like, yeah, I'm just cooking. And her neighbor stopped by. And then the neighbor also introduces us to her profession. Like, we find out that she's an author. And I think that's a very smooth way to introduce us to all of that. Because sometimes they can feel like, oh, they're just throwing stuff at us and it doesn't feel natural. It's like they're just trying to let us know the backstory without it feeling real. So I thought that was very good. Then fast forward, the neighbor's death. Holy crap. Like you said, that was a great jump scare because I'd almost like forgotten this is a horror movie at this point. Like, something felt eerie, but I think that was just because she was deaf. Like, that's what I chalked it up to. Like, I thought it was just eerie because there's no talking going on. But then, boom, face up against the window. She's beating on the window. She's yelling her name. She can't hear it. And then she gets shot with an arrow in the back. And you're thinking, come on, girl, just turn around. But really, think about that. Like, you would turn around. Like, there's no reason for her to see that because it's out of her peripheral. So I thought that was a great way of really driving home that, yeah, she can't hear anything. Then I like how, okay, so you mentioned the ex, and that's a gripe I have. Like, I don't feel like that was necessary at all. We don't need to know about the ex-boyfriend texting her, calling her, FaceTiming her, and her FaceTiming him at all because there's no payoff. Like, I was waiting for it the deeper we got in the movie because, in my mind, I'm thinking that he texted her or did whatever he did. Yeah, he texted her. And then she FaceTimed him twice and hung up, and then she ignored his FaceTime. I'm thinking from my vantage point, he's going to come see what's going on. Is she okay? He's going to come check on her. Now, granted, I have no idea how far away he is. He may be halfway across the country, so it might not be feasible. But still, could have just left that out because there was no payoff. But then we get to FaceTime with her sister. And I thought this was cool because it drives home the fact and lets the audience know that she's truly alone out here. Like, alone. And there's, people that are concerned for her and whatever. But my biggest gripe with the entire movie happens in this set of scenes because this dude's in the house already. Like, he came in the house and took her cell phone and then showed himself out. And then he's so incompetent that he managed to get himself locked out to where he, quote unquote, can't get back inside. Now, I get it. He wanted to toy with her. And I can appreciate that to a certain extent. But when this house is made of 90% windows, there comes a certain point you can feel his frustration because he literally can't get inside. It's like, okay, then it just pisses me off even more that he was in the house to begin with. To me, I would rather he wasn't inside. I would rather, because it makes sense given the location of the film, there's no cell service there at all. So without Wi-Fi, she can't send iMessages. That's all the explanation we needed. So when he cuts the power to the house, she can't use her phone, so it doesn't matter if she has it or not. That's the only explanation I would have needed, and I would have been happy with this whole thing. But instead, he's inside, creeping behind her, doesn't touch her, takes her phone off the table, and gets back outside. That bothered me. But it is what it is. I get it. We got to make 80 minutes. We can't just end it in 15 like I said I would have if I wrote the thing. But, I did like when he sends the pictures to her computer. That's a very creepy feeling because, Maxwell, somebody's watching me start playing in my head. Like, she's literally sitting there on the couch and gets these pictures from who she thinks is her friend. And then it's like, oh, okay, this is weird. Like, she's not here. She's not telling me, hey, I'm outside. Do you want to talk or whatever? She's just sending me pictures of myself. This isn't her. So that's a very eerie feeling. It's could have been a flawless opening had he not went in the home. That's my only beef with the whole opening is that he went in the home because why wouldn't he just kill her? Why wouldn't he toy with her from the inside of the home? Why would he go back outside and get himself locked out for 70 more minutes? That pisses me off. But it is what it is. Pretty good.
Two quick things I wanted to touch on. One was you made an excellent point about her not being able to see what's going on outside. I think in a lot of horror movies, you're like, oh, come on. How did you not see that? It's right there. But one, the woman is deaf. Okay. So no, cues that way. But also, I think it's very explainable to think there's something going on out of my peripheral vision. And if I can't hear it and I can't feel it, then how the hell am I supposed to know that it's going on? So I think that's easily explained away. I have seen that complaint in a lot of stuff. You go on the Dead Meat Kill Count of this, that's a complaint that I see. Even though they love the movie, they think that's a kind of a complaint. And I just don't necessarily see it that way, I guess. One quick thing that you also said I wanted to touch on is I viewed the in the house going back out of the house. And again, I hate that I have to do this, but it's a frame of reference for me. So sorry. But bringing on back to wrestling, something Dustin will understand, when a heel does the same shit with a babyface, they have them beat. That they're out cold. They're gonna it'd be easy 1, 2, 3 pin, and they taunt the crowd instead, and they end up losing the match anyway. I normally like that in wrestling because I think it's fun. But in this movie, I actually kind of agree with you. I think that, we could have done away with that, and I think it would have made this movie that much more scarier once he gets inside. Spoiler, he does get back inside.
Eventually. I agree, though.
She turns around and sees the open sliding door. She walks to the door slowly, and she sees the masked man. He holds the phone up, and they meet face to face as she locks the doors. She locks all of her doors. She follows the man as he circles her house. She goes to make an emergency call on her laptop, but he kills her power. She tries to join John and Sarah's Wi-Fi, but he watches her and then cuts on her window with a knife. She sees him use a knife to stab her tires flat. Maddie grabs lipstick and writes on the glass. She shines her flashlight on the man, and the message says, "Won't tell, didn't see face, boyfriend coming home." He removes his mask now, revealing himself. "Can you read my lips?" he asks, and then smacks her door. "You've seen it now, haven't you?" He recites back what Max said about her being alone, and he says he can get inside anytime he wants, but he's waiting for the right time. He asks her to nod her head if she understands. "Let's have some fun," he says, and he walks away. She gets up and walks to the kitchen, grabbing a knife. She now grabs a hammer from under the sink. She stands in the middle of the living room and looks around. She goes into her room and barricades it off with a dresser. She closes the blinds and sits on the floor beside a window in a panic. She sees a shadow by the window, and we hear banging on the window. Maddie looks out the window, and she sees Sarah's dead body as he uses her hand to tap on the window. She drops the hammer and backs away. She moves the dresser and leaves the room. She falls to the floor and weeps. Maddie remembers that Sarah put her phone in her back pocket. Maddie crawls closer and closer to the door so she can try and set off her car alarm. She unlocks the door and opens it and sets the alarm off. She crawls away from the door and she sees the man walk to the car. She unlocks the window and reaches in Sarah's pocket to try and get the phone. The man runs to her and she slams his hand in the window. She grabs the hammer and stabs the claw into his forearm. He's pissed off now. He cuts on Sarah's shirt and uses it as like a tourniquet. He reveals to Maddie he already has her phone. He plays with Sarah's jewelry now, mocking her, and Maddie walks away from the window. All right, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so this line here with Maddie's sister when she says that isolation picked her, she didn't pick it. The first time I took that as like she was deaf and isolation was like in that regard. But could this possibly be the explanation of why she's out in the woods by herself with a full glass house with no curtains or blinds? Like Mike mentioned about the backstory, where it was her and Craig's house, maybe, and she just took it over. I'm not sure like how y'all took that line, but I kind of like that reasoning a little bit better because truthfully, this house doesn't seem super convenient for someone with deaf disability. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but shouldn't she at least have something that tells her when her door is open or something? I don't know. I don't know. Nitpick here, disregarding what I would have done or whatever in this situation. I've seen a lot of like, I would have FaceTime 911 immediately or whatever. And I mean, everybody's different, so I don't really play much into that line of thinking. But yo, my man isn't using that iPhone with gloves on. Just throwing that out there. Doesn't happen. Um, I did love the knife drag across the window. And again, the flipping back to her perspective, that coupled with everything else about the way that this scene was shot, the 360 rotation around her as like she, like herself is trying to keep her head on a swivel and find him, and what he's doing. I think that was very well done. And so this is the other big debate I've seen. on this too. Is people upset that they like unmasked the killer so early? Honestly, yeah, I think the mask makes you scarier for sure. But then, like, what are you going to do? I mean, from a writing perspective, you almost have to, right? I mean, otherwise, you have a silent movie, which I think was one of the plans at first. I mean, you either have that or you have the killer say all the lines you wrote for him in some muffled, like behind a mask. So I'm fine with the choice to unmask him. Um, I think you almost wrote yourself in a corner with having to do that. Having to make that happen. And I think John Gallagher Jr. does a good job as the killer. I mean, and this may be a hot take, but part of me thinks he may have been miscast. I mean, I don't know. I mean, who am I to say with that? But maybe I would have liked to have seen someone else that may have come off a little creepier without the mask. I don't know. I mean, I guess I would have had to seen it. But this is Mike mentioned it the second time that we've done a Gallagher movie on the show. He was in the Belko Experiment, and that came out in 2016, as well as a third movie that came out the exact same year that Gallagher was in, 10 Cloverfield Lane. So my man had a hell of a 2016.
Never heard of it.
You've never seen it, probably,
I've
but
seen it.
it's really good.
I've seen it.
Oh, well, anyway, I was trying to get across how, number one, that is a good movie. Number two, he had a hell of a 2016. But I don't want to take away from Gallagher's performance here with what ifs or whatever. I think he did do a good job with what he had. Last thing I'll touch on, my man with Sarah's body banging on the window was awesome the first time I saw it. Like, I was like, holy shit, okay, this dude's a fucking psycho. Uh, but after this, it just kind of went downhill with the playing around like he said he was going to do. And I think they should have done that up a little bit more. After the whole window thing and getting stabbed with the claw of the hammer, I think he would just be like, okay, fuck this, and goes in because it means, quote, anytime he wants to, he can just go in. Just obviously not through the super glass door or whatever. Just my personal opinion. So I do have to suspend the disbelief a little bit after that, but this is my favorite group of scenes in the movie. It does go down a bit, in my opinion, in the next group, but I love this group.
Yeah, I really like this group too. I don't have a lot of notes up until he kind of starts fucking with her and the knife in the glass window. Like, I think that is kind of where the movie really starts to pick up. And I know that, you mentioned in the next set of scenes, it kind of gets monotonous a little bit too much, but I think I really, really enjoy this aspect of it. I love how dark the house is that the power's off. I love that it's just like basically lighting this thing. And I think that's a really cool look. It's not, I complain a lot in movies that are too dark. I think this one is just lit enough and it's the right circumstances for a movie to be a little bit darker that I'm a fan. And I love the way when he has the mask on, I love the way it's shot. It almost looks transparent, but still white. Like, it's a really interesting mask look. So I'm a fan of the mask, but I'm going to disagree with you, Brian. I think I'm not really sure, but I actually like that they take his mask off here. I almost think it makes him scarier in a way. Not now, of course, we do a show. This logo is literally the two of the most famous mask killers of all time, and one with a burnt face that you can buy a mask of. Okay, so like that is kind of our bread and butter is mask killers on the loose with knives. But something about this, him not giving a single fuck that she's about to see his face, makes him that much scarier to me. The way she tries to get out of it, trying to be smart, thinking, hey, I'll remove all I won't tell anyone, just please leave me alone. And him being like, no, I came here to fuck with you. I don't care if you see who I am. And takes the mask off, removes that out for her. I think that's genuinely more terrifying than a guy in a mask, at least in this setup where, again, she's all by herself. She can't hear, and there's a lot going on around her. So to fuck with her when she can't even hear where he is, I think is genuinely just more terrifying. And now you know what this motherfucker looks like. I think that's just scarier to me. And I like that decision. Now, did they get there by writing themselves into a corner like you mentioned? I think so. But I also think it worked for me. Now, if it didn't work for you, I totally get it. But I like the way that it did, man. And him really messing with her mind, throwing Sarah up against the window. Like, I just thought that was great. And, the fact that she or he starts to realize she can read lips. And it's a little thing. If you go back and look, he says something. Her facial reaction lets him know she can read his lips. So she asked him, or he asked her twice. She finally says yes. Then that's when he really starts to fuck with her. Because every time they look at each other, he says something, and he knows now that she understands. And I think that was a great little touch, man. I thought it was a really cool little thing that they did there. I like the set of scenes because this is where the tension really starts to ratchet up. I do think there is some parts in the next set where it's kind of the same thing. It's bang here, window there, all that stuff. But I still like it. Like, I still think it keeps the tension. It doesn't run on too long in the tooth. But as far as this little ending here where he takes his mask off, it's my favorite scene in the whole film.
So this set of scenes, I agree, is the last of the really good set of scenes. I think the next couple kind of lull, and then the ending's okay. But this set of scenes, I really like a lot. So, like I said, I love that he cut the power to the house. That could have been the answer to the cell phone problem the whole time. Like, if he's concerned, he doesn't want her to call the cops or call anyone. Like, all you had to do was make it to where she didn't get cell phone service at the house because cutting the power will shut down the Wi-Fi, and then you can't use your computer, you can't use your cell phone. It's useless. So, but whatever, it is what it is. I'm kind of torn on the mask thing. So I like what you said, Brian. I like what you said, Mike, and it really opened my perspective, especially, Mike, what you said about how it kind of makes it even more terrifying that he's like, I don't care if you saw my face or not. I'll take it off and still kill you. So, yeah, that's cool. But at the same time, it's like, what's the point of the mask in the first place? I just feel like it was too soon. Maybe if they introduced or, remove the mask in the next set of scenes after he'd been tormenting her for a while and she finally like makes a last ditch effort to be like, look, I didn't see your face. Just please leave me alone. But really, he's been outside for a half hour and he takes it off. Like, I don't know that it was okay. I'm torn on it. I don't really like that he took it off so early. Also, once he took the mask off, now I could be wrong, but I feel like even the best lip readers in the world would not be able to read his lips because if you watch him talk, he didn't move his jaw at all. He spoke using his tongue primarily. Like he didn't really enunciate his words and make his facial gestures to where you could tell what he's saying. Because when he asked her, "Can you read lips?" Like I was trying to read his lips. I was like, I muted the TV. And I was like, I have no idea what this dude's saying right now. And so I rewound it and watched it again. I was like, that's not what I thought he said. So, and I'm not saying that I can read lips, but I feel like for the most part, when people talk, you can kind of tell what they're saying. You always see the videos of the funny lip readings when people jokingly, dub over what people are saying. There's some really good videos in YouTube about the NFL players, bad lip readings. Look that up. But with him, his lips weren't really moving. He was talking with his jaw and his tongue, so it's hard to tell what he was saying. Anyway, I love the sadistic usage of Sarah here. Like we hear the banging on the window, and she's like, okay, what is this? And she looks up, oh, it's my dead friend. Like that is some sick stuff right there. I thought that was a great touch. That's one of my, that's going to make me sound like a masochist, but that's one of my favorite part of the movie was like, holy, this dude is twisted. Like, that's awesome. And I also love, when she's half-heartedly out the window trying to grab the cell phone out of the pocket. Like, I had issues with that. She could have been more urgent about it. I get it. But you set your car alarm off. You know you've got a limited time before he realizes, oh, there's no one over here. Let me get back around to where I was. And she's just kind of lazily crawling out the window. Whatever. But I love the hammer strike. Like, her using the hammer to the forearm there, that was awesome. But it also leads me to one of my biggest gripes in the whole movie, which is what I mentioned earlier is, okay, he was in the house earlier. And he wants to toy with her a little bit. And Brian mentioned how he wishes that Maddie would have mentioned that, I got this double pane glass or whatever. This glass is unbreakable, which all they would have had to done was say, since I'm have her say, since I'm deaf, I need some extra secure glass because if someone breaks a window, I'm not going to be able to hear it. Boom, explanation. But at this point, I don't know that the glass is unbreakable. So to me, it seems like if she put a hammer through his forearm, this is the exact moment where he would have found his way in the house no matter what and killed her.
Exactly.
Because like, okay, I'm playing around, but now you injure
That's
me.
fair.
Now you
I
injure
think that's
me.
fair.
You made me bleed my own blood. Like now it's not your turn.
Nobody
to die.
makes me bleed my own blood.
So that's my biggest gripe in the whole movie is from that point, like why wouldn't he just get inside the house? And if the glass is reinforced, if the glass really is that kind of glass that Ace Ventura screamed and opened the door and you can't hear him, why not tell us that instead of leaving us wondering like what's going on? This is some bad Tom and Jerry stuff that's going on the rest of this movie. Like this is not the good cat and mouse in my opinion because you ruined it. Anyway, good set of scenes though. I like everything up until that. Go ahead.
I think that's fair. It's fair.
All right, she's back into the living room, holding her face, trying to regain composure. She sees him outside again, circling the house. He walks up to the sliding door again and walks away as she hides beside it. She sneaks out the door and tries to sneak away. She hides under her porch when she sees him getting closer. She puts her hand against the porch to feel his movement. She looks up and gasps slightly, and he walks down the stairs to investigate. She crawls out the other side and begins to run, but he shoots at her with the bow and misses. She runs back for the house and gets inside, locking the door just in time. He mocks her as he smiles and knocks on the door with the arrow. She runs back upstairs and looks out her window at him. She opens a window and she climbs onto the roof. She sees the man walk away, and then Uncle Rico tosses his flashlight into the woods to distract him. He follows after the light, and Maddie walks along the roof and descends down, but is shot in the leg with the arrow. He shoots at her again, but she dodges it at the last second, Matrix style. He begins to climb up after her, and she punches him in the face and takes his bow and arrow. He climbs up after her again, and she climbs back into her house before he can get in. She aims the bow at him. He walks away from the window, and Maddie grabs at her bleeding leg. She goes into the bathroom and cleans her leg wound. She agonizes in pain doing so. She tourniquets it now, and she sees these etchings on the bow, possibly indicating how many he's killed. She finally gets the arrow loaded, and the killer watches her from the window. We see a man knock at the door. It's John. He's calling for Sarah. John reads the message on the glass. The man runs up to John and forces him to his knees, posing as a cop. He asks for his ID. He checks out his identification and asks if he lives next door. He apologizes to John and he says he's not sure what happened. He says someone cold-cocked him and took his gun, badge, phone, all that. He asks to use John's phone and he hands it to him. He fakes a call and John grows suspicious. He asks if he saw that message and the killer hides John's phone in his pocket. John asks for his phone back and he sees him drop Sarah's necklace. He asks about the call he responded to because Maddie couldn't have made it. She's deaf. He says Sarah must have made the call. Back to Maddie failing to load the bow and arrow. He asks John if she's always been unable to hear. He says there's a spare key down there and he grabs a rock. They converse some more and John is distracted by Maddie knocking on the glass and he's stabbed in the neck and then has his leg cut. He falls to the ground. He fakes dead and then tackles the man. He puts him in a chokehold now that almost kills him. And the next little set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so like I mentioned last set of scenes, this is where it does take a little bit of a dip for me before the ending, in my opinion. I think this should have been some, I don't know, some more fucking with her, bathing in the blood of the dead. I don't know, just something just insane going on because let's go back to him saying he could go in anytime he wants. Obviously, that's a line there to explain why he doesn't. And I know that, like we talked about, the door's super bulletproof, but he does prove later he could just bust in another window and go in. So to me, this just doesn't do it for me. I mean, the dude's just walking around. I mean, yeah, you get a little bit of attention or a little bit of tension with her, under the deck, but otherwise, it's just like, why even waste your time right now when you're not really doing anything? I mean, either that or don't show us the killer. Don't let us know where he is. That way the tension is always there. But showing him literally just walking around and looking through windows like he can't fucking get in, it pulls me out. And then at 50 minutes in, like I actually wrote down the words, okay, something needs to start happening. Because yeah, it's cat and mouse, I guess, but is it really? I mean, like, it just doesn't play for me. If you're trying to kill her, go do it. If you're trying to fuck with her, do it. If you're trying to make her wish she was dead before you go in, like you said, do it. you're not doing shit, and it bothered me. And no, Maddie, holy shit! Like when she's on the roof, like a dumbass, by the way. Like, how is that any different than just going out a door on the opposite side of where he is? But okay, but yeah, but when she's on the roof and throws that flashlight, like Nico said, into the woods, god damn, she threw that thing like 100 yards deep. I was like, holy shit. And besides just having a neat little visual with her and creating a little bit of tension, I guess, with her on the roof and him almost getting in, I don't really see any reason for this roof scene. I think it's, and like Dustin said, if the hammer wasn't the turning point for you to go in, I mean, maybe you're masochist and you want to hang out outside and fuck with her a little bit more. Okay, but it's definitely here after you fall off the fucking roof where he gets pissed off and goes in. I mean, at least one of the two here. And plus I think having all that time so she can bandage up. I mean, it looked gnarly, but I was ready for my guy Truco to show up, which I liked, by the way. I liked the way this played out for the most part. It was smart. Props to John because, yeah, I don't know if I would have recognized literally any earring of my wife's if it fell out on the ground, but hey, it definitely would have been.
Better hope she
know.
doesn't listen to this, bud, or you're in deep trouble.
She doesn't, trust me. And that stab to the neck I thought was badass looking. And John has the dude on the ground going for a real rear choke submission. And what are we doing, Maddie? A little help? No? Just watching? Okay, cool. Thanks. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the first part of this set of scenes drags a little bit because you really just get some like cool shots more so than you get anything moving the plot along. You kind of mentioned that he's not really as he's put in the script, is not really doing anything. He's not, he hasn't killed her. He's not really fucking with her, but you get some like cool shots, from a direction and cinematography standpoint. But and you get some good, Kate Siegel facial acting, but you don't really get a whole lot. And I do think if you had to pinpoint one complaint I had about the film, it would be right here. Now, I don't think it drags as much as others do, but I can completely understand the argument. I do, however, think it picks back up. But I think when John comes in, I really start to like this set of scenes. And backtracking real quick, I hate all the stuff on the roof. That's my least favorite part of the entire film. I think the stuff with the bow is a little convoluted. It comes into play later because she can't figure out how to use it and all this other stuff. And like, it's fine. But I just think, one, she's not freaking Neo. She's not going to dodge that arrow like full bent in knee, split back, like it's the Matrix, man. I'm not buying that. But I just don't really like anything on the roof. You mentioned throwing the flashlight like it was Stone Cold's beer guy for 20 years, just kind of tossing it out there and hoping for the best. That whole scene I can live without. If you were going to trim anything, it would probably be that scene, especially because, like Brian mentioned, that's my chance, man. That is if I actually want her dead, you don't even have to kill her. Go grab her, tie her to a chair. You can fuck with her there and then kill her. Like, use some logic here. But I do think it picks back up when John comes in looking for Sarah. I think it makes it significantly more interesting. And I think it when you see quote unquote man, because he doesn't have a name, come on pretending to be a cop. I really like that part of the movie. Like, I think that's a fun little thing. And you just want to like yell at the TV and think, come on, recognize what we recognize. This is a terrible acting job being a cop right here. And he eventually does, because like Brian mentioned, sees a ring of his wife on the ground. Like I'm not going to lie, probably would feel the same way as you, Brian. Don't think I'd recognize my fiance's ring on the ground unless it was the one I gave her, because I know exactly what that looks like, because that cost me some money. Hey, I'm just saying, I had to spend some coin on that thing. I borrowed a good chunk of money from Dustin, got it paid off. We're all good. Anyway, I love the interaction between John and the guy. Like, I think you just want to see him hit him in the back of the head with that stone thing. You just hoping for it. And then, kind of like Brian mentioned, it's really Maddie that fumbles the bag here. She like tries to warn him or tries to warn John and it doesn't work. And then they're in this fist fight where, he looks like he's about to choke him out and all that stuff. And again, I think we kind of pick the tension back up from a little bit of a lull here with the ending of this set of scenes. So I think it's fine. I don't think it's as bad as some of you guys, but I completely understand the argument of why you're kind of like, all right, let's move it on. Let's hurry up. Let's either kill her, let's kind of piss or get off the pot here.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, the whole cat and mouse routine kind of lost me in this point just because it didn't add anything. Like that's I've said that multiple times on the show. I'm okay with things happening as long as it adds something to the story, and nothing in this part adds anything because we had already seen he's toying with her. Brian, you said, quote, I didn't see a point in this roof scene. Yeah, that's how I feel in this entire set of scenes, to be honest with you, up until John shows up. There's no point to it. Now, also, I didn't notice the notches on the bow where she's like wondering if that's how many people he killed. So I'm glad that I'm a part of this show because I would have never noticed that, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's cool. And I do think it's funny how she struggled. It's not funny, but it's just one of those things that's like relatable, right? Like if you've never loaded a crossbow, it's a lot more difficult than you would think. So I appreciate the difficulty she had with it, and how long it took her to figure it out finally. I do have problems with John too, though. Like when he showed up, he should have been a lot more skeptical. If you show up to a scene that's as sketchy as that, and the guy's telling you, "Yeah, I'm a cop, but they stole my radio and my gun and all my badge and all this stuff," like that's not really believable, especially when dude has a neck tat. I don't know. I'm not judging anyone. I have tattoos myself, but I don't know how many cops you've ran into that have neck tats. I've never seen a one. So that that's a little bit questionable. Now, also when he drops the earring or the neck, whatever kind of jewelry it was, whenever he drops that and he clearly recognizes that's my girlfriend's, that's when he should have been more proactive. So he already should have been more skeptical. But when you see that this guy dropped a piece of jewelry that belonged to your significant other, that's when you have to be more proactive. First step of being proactive is never, we used to do a thing in basketball where when we're, playing zone, you want to see the ball and the man. You want to get into a position where you can see the ball at all times and your man at all times. That's how you have to be in this position, John. You can't take your eyes off of this guy because you don't trust him. That means including when someone's banging on the window, you want to get in a position where you can look at the window, you can see it out of your left peripheral, but out of your right peripheral, you can see him. Boom, you're still alive. You don't get stabbed in the neck. But I will say that was a very cool stabbing to the neck. It wasn't over the top. Like a lot of times in horror movies, they make it to where like a stabbing is a huge deal. Like it's a spectacle to see. This knife just slid right into his neck. And it was so disgustingly beautiful. So I like how that was shot there. Also, Maddie, listen, I sympathize for you, but John's blood is on your hands. If you see him outside with this guy and you see that he's in no immediate danger, don't bang on the window and distract him. So yeah, you did that, Maddie. Like you're the one that is responsible for his death because he would have still been alive or he would have still been maintaining the situation at least for a little longer had you not distracted him. But overall, this set of scenes it kind of irritated me because I just can't believe that an 80-minute movie can feel like it's 120 minutes because of one set of scenes, and it's this set of scenes. Nothing happened that advanced anything. It was just more of the. Now, I will give you, Mike, you said it builds anticipation. It's tense. It is. But nothing really happened to make it any more tense than the last set of scenes. That's why I'm like, I wish they, like you.
It's fair.
Like when you said, I can't remember who said it, but like if he'd got inside and tied her to a chair, like that's
me. Yeah,
like you said, play the cat and mouse game, but do it from inside the house. Because like you said, Brian, at this point, when you fall off the roof, now I'm definitely breaking out a window and getting inside. And if we find out something, we find out in the next set of scenes that he could do that all along. It's not logical that he wouldn't have done it right here. You caused me to fall off a roof and you put a hammer in my forearm. I'm coming in, killing you, and burning this house to the ground.
All right, here's the ending. Maddie runs outside and he knocks her to the ground and bashes her head in with a rock. But that was a dream sequence. She says she can't run. John dies, running out of strength from blood loss. She runs scenarios through her mind of what to do. Shoot him with the arrow, turn the power on, hide, etc. She tells herself she's running out of time. He's coming inside soon. He's bigger, faster, stronger. He has the advantage. He can hear. You go outside, you're dead. She says the only ending he won't expect is to kill him. The killer takes John's watch and said, I'd never have won that fight. He takes a cigarette and gets a tire iron out the trunk. He asks John's corpse, should I go ahead and go in and get this over with? He pets the cat now and pulls out his knife, and she shoots him with the bow and arrow. He chases after her and slams her hand in the sliding door as she reaches back for an arrow she drops. He stomps her hand, fucking gnarly, crushing it. She closes the door and locks it. He watches her writhing in pain. He snaps the arrow in half. He says, I'm coming in. She looks up at him and sits up. She writes on the glass in blood to do it, and she smacks the glass. She now writes on the glass calling him a coward. He walks away and she hobbles to her computer. She types out his description in case she dies and he gets away. I love you, Mom, Dad, and Max. I died fighting. He bashes on her glass with a tire iron, but it won't break. She goes into the bathroom and holds a knife towards the door as her vision blurs. We see him appear behind her now, and he talks and she feels his breath. She spins around, stabbing him in the leg. He screams in agony and she gets out of the bathroom. She hobbles to the kitchen as she gets weaker and weaker. She falls to the floor as she tries to get another knife. He walks towards the kitchen now, towards her, and she sprays wall spray into his eyes and in his face. He's writhing in pain, and she turns on her flashing alarm, disorienting him. He throws her to the ground and kicks her and gets on top of her and begins to strangle her to death. Maddie presses against his wound, but it's not enough pain to affect him. She has flashbacks to her family, and she manages to grab the wine cork on the floor, and she stabs him through his throat. He shoots blood on her, and he falls on top of her. She pushes him off and lays there. She coughs and sits up. She reaches in his pocket and calls 911. She falls back on the floor. We see Sarah and John's dead bodies, and Maddie hobbles outside to the porch. Her cat sits beside her, and she pets it. We see police lights coming as a cop makes it to the house. We get a close-up on Maddie as the film ends. All right, go ahead, Brian. What do you think of the ending?
I liked it a lot. I think this is where the movie really redeems itself after that last bit and that last group to me. I'm usually not a fan of fake out deaths, but I mean, first of all, that rock head bashing fake out looked awesome as shit. But like I said, I'm not usually a fan of that. But the callback to what she said earlier about having a bunch of different endings in her head, the writer's brain, I really liked that a lot. I think it really all came together really good right there. Could have done without the whole smoking the cigarette part and the talking to the dead John corpse, but it was a nice flip to have the jump scare with the arrow come from Maddie and not him. But if you're the killer, I mean, you just took one to the arm. You just broke her fingers 45 different fucking ways. How do you let her still manage to close the door on you? I didn't get that, but I will say the sound design with her writing on that computer to her family with, dipshit hitting the door with, by the way, the softest fucking crowbar ever, apparently. It was brilliant. I loved that entire scene, not just the shot, but the sound design as well right there. And lastly, the first time that I saw this movie, I didn't see the glass busting while she was in the tub. I just thought that he had fucking popped out of there out of nowhere. And so I thought it was another fake out kill, like hallucination type thing. But I love the rest of this now that he's in the house with the wasp spray, that she dropped earlier in the film, which if you forgot about that, like I did, I didn't catch it on the ground there either. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? So that's really cool things to see, like on the second, third rewatches. The masked man's kill with the corkscrew, definitely my favorite. I'm a big fan of the ending. I thought it was good.
Yeah, I agree with you. Again, I wasn't as down on the last set, but I think this significantly, improves the film as far as, just kind of picking up the story again, because again, in the last set of scenes, we lacked a little bit of more story development. And here we get some finally, and I think it's really good. I'm also not a big fan of fake out deaths, but I think for what they were going for here with her being a writer and all that stuff, I think it works. So I wasn't super mad at it. I was actually more mad if that's how they were going to end the film, to be honest. I'm like, well, wait a goddamn it. I almost would have applauded it a little bit for them having the balls to do something like that. but I'm glad they didn't go that direction, and I'm glad it was a fake out, but it looked really good. So I'm with you. I'm glad that she figured out how to use the arrow. I'm glad that was what the jump scare was. But like you said, and this is literally, I have it in bold here. How the fuck did you let her close the door? It's failing an open book test, my man. She has like one hand. She has all these wounds. She's losing her vision because she's bleeding out. Which, by the way, I appreciate that this movie has her sell her injuries instead of just pretend they don't happen. Looking at you, Halloween Resurrection. Like we're just pretending that the injuries don't happen in that movie. In this one, they don't do that. She's clearly messed up because of being cut and shot at and stabbed and all this other stuff. And I like that they play that up here in this set of scenes a lot with her vision, losing it in and out and all that. I think that's a really good setup for what comes later. I like that she kind of finally stands up, has some balls, tells him to come in. The writing on the window and all that stuff, calls him a coward, which, hey, if you hit a window that many times with a tire iron, it's going to open up, man. It's going to open up. I promise. Unless he just has noodle arms, which that's on him, not the window. So anyway, I love this last little scene here. I think getting it from her perspective in the bathroom, knife towards the door, he's in there talking, and the reason that he ends up dying, which I think looks really good, by the way, is because he breathes on her neck. Such a really cool visual to see with the goosebumps and everything else, and the kind of way the knife misses her face just as she's turning around to stab him. I think it's a really cool visual. Love the way that scene is shot. Love that death. I think it's one of the times you want to see a motherfucker die on screen in a horror movie. Sometimes we kind of pull for the villains like we do with Michael, Jason, not really Freddy that much, but even Chucky, you kind of pull for Chucky in a lot of movies, like you're just kind of hoping.
The Firefly family.
Anyway.
I'm just kidding. I did not pull for them.
I was going to say, they suck, pal. Anyway, but they're entertaining. So anyway, I love that we get to see this motherfucker die. Really thought that was a good way to end it. Again, fan of the ending here. I love the way it kind of picks the pace back up. I love that it makes her a strong character. It doesn't use her disability in like some superpower, some ultimate thing. She's able to use it as an advantage in a way. And in some parts of the movie, it's to her disadvantage. I think that's real life, and I really like that they kind of approach it that way. So all in all, I really like the film, and I like this ending especially.
The ending really made up for the last set of scenes to me. I thought that it was a lot better. It really, picked the action back up, picked the anticipation back up, the anxiety that you're going, the tenacity. It's very good. I really like her running through all the different scenarios in her head. It's a great callback to earlier when she explained that she has voices in her head, and that's how she writes movies. Or writes books rather. She envisions, how about this outcome? No, blah blah blah. That was great, and I don't really like false kills either, but this is one that I will make an exception for. I loved it because when it happened, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" No, what? And then it's like, oh, okay, this is her writer brain, talking, and so I thought that was brilliant. Okay, he's finally in the house. Now, Brian, you mentioned it. You didn't see the glass bursting. I didn't see it either. I got to be honest. I only watched this movie once. I didn't do my usual 2 watch throughs on this one. I only did it once because I felt like it was so short and such a simple film that I didn't really need a second rewatch. But what I did was every now and then I'd rewind. But while I'm watching this the first time, I got distracted by my phone for a brief second. 1 minute she's in her bathroom hiding. The next minute he's in the bathtub behind her. I'm like, what just happened? So I rewound it. So I did see, that's when I picked up on, the glass shot. Okay, so he's inside now. Like I was confused for a split second, but I thought that was a great touch because you didn't hear the glass shatter. You didn't hear Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out. You just next 1 minute he's in the tub. But I also, Mike, I loved, and I mean loved, how it was shot when she's sitting there and he's behind her taunting her, but she can't hear it. But the senses, you've always heard from when you were a kid, when you lose one sense, the others are heightened. If Daredevil has taught us anything, Brian will appreciate that. It's that when you lose a sense, the others kick up. And when he talks behind her and she feels the breath on his neck, that was awesome. And I also like how it was shot in slow motion there for a split second after, like when she's spinning around going to stab him and he's trying to stab her, because that just builds up the anticipation, like who's going to stab who's going to win here. I do like that she won ultimately, but with her hand looking as gnarly as it did and the amount of blood that she's lost in this movie, I do say it's a tad unlikely that she would have won, which also I'll give a shout out to Flanagan and crew for, they could have made when he stomped her arm, that could have been one of those misery moments with the sledgehammer to the ankle. Like if they would have shown that straight on, that would have been nasty. That would have turned your stomach. But they showed just enough to where it's like, oh, that was brutal, but I get the picture. Thank you for not showing it to me. And the effects of her hand being all mangled, I thought was great. But regardless, her winning seems unlikely in the grand scheme of things. Now, I'm all for equality, but this is a woman versus a man who's bigger than her, and she's lost a lot of blood. Now, he's lost blood too. He got a hammer to the forearm. But all things considered,
and wasp spray to the eyes,
and wasp spray
another arrow to the arm. So
sure,
what do you mean by that?
Sure, but also she can't hear, so he had a very large advantage from the beginning. So I don't want to hear that shit.
Some sexist co-hosts on the show. Women can't beat a man in anything, apparently. Good God Almighty.
That's not true. That's not true.
That makes two of you.
That's not true at all.
I beg your pardon.
You heard what I said.
But anyway, I do like that she won, and I love I don't know that serenity, but I love the feeling, the zen feeling that we get when she walks out and she just has this like moment, like I won. And then she's sitting on the couch or on the steps, just waiting for the cops to get there. It honestly reminded me of a movie we reviewed not that long ago. The ending of her walking out and sitting down on the steps really reminded me of Ready or Not. I like the ending. I thought it really made up for the last set of scenes, and it honestly, the ending saved this movie a whole point in my rating. A whole point in my rating because of how well the ending was done.
Can't wait for Dustin to give us a 4.5. All right. Any more final thoughts before we jump into the social media comments in question? All right, let's knock out Twitter first. Big fan of the show, Sean Irwin. He commented, "This movie is really intense in some parts. I really enjoy it. I guess my question would be, do you think she stays after the movie?"
Yeah, I do. I
got to be honest with you. Sean, I love you, brother. But when I saw this comment, because I saw the notification come through, I was like, oh, what a weird question. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But that's a weird thing to think about. She just went through this huge traumatic experience. Did she stay there? I wouldn't. But if she did, more power to her. Like, she survived the worst that's ever going to come to her doorstep in this house. But Sean,
I think she stays.
Sean, man, I love you.
I think she stays because, like my girl Ruben McIntyre, she's a survivor. Let's go,
Brian. What do you think of the? Do you think she stays or do you think she goes?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go with Mike's answer. Sure.
Yeah, I honestly never would have even thought of that until Sean tweeted that question. So
I think
maybe
she
did,
stays,
maybe
Sean.
she didn't. But if she did stay, I promise you, she will never face anything in her entire life as bad as what she just faced. So why not stay? I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's jump to Instagram. We got a lot of comments over there. I think this is Fairy Chick. She commented, "Great movie. Enjoyed more than I thought I would. One movie that I would put on in the background now while doing schoolwork." I agree with that. I mean, this is a good movie just to put on in the background if you're doing something else. I would agree with that.
This is a good intro to horror movie, in my opinion. Like if you're gonna like bring a date over, she's like, "Oh, let's watch a scary movie," and you didn't want to like make her watch, Das of House of Corpses or some shit like that. You could throw on. No, don't look at me like that. I'm your Rob Zombie co-defendant. That
was unnecessary. That was unnecessary. There's no reason.
Or
for
Saw
this.
or something like that. I get what you're saying.
Okay, or Saw. Then you throw on this movie, and I think it's a good intro into the horror genre because it's just scary enough. So
I get that. I agree. I also say that this is a perfect movie for background because if you're doing schoolwork for more than 80 minutes, you probably need to take it easy on yourself. So it's a perfect background movie.
true point. That's a fair point.
Skullboy Brand commented, definitely enjoyed this one. Okay, that's good. I think a lot of people, I think most of the comments, they all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The Horror Movie Crew podcast commented, Flanagan and Siegel do awesome with this movie. I love the scenes where you're out in her shoes with the sound editing. I would agree with
Absolutely.
that. I also love how
Absolutely.
she uses her writer's brain to predict how the events will play out. Josh, have a theory that this is her writing her next story. I like that. That's interesting. I would
Yeah.
like to hear more
No, I
about that,
agree with that.
honestly.
Okay.
Release date rewind commented, terrifying, and a Maine 207 area code on the caller ID in one scene. Okay. Stephen Kingish.
Maybe from Dairyman. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
My man Joe Black Tattoos commented, I enjoyed this one more than I thought I would. This movie is well thought out and well acted. My biggest problem with this one is that they unmasked the killer too early in this how a lot of people feel.
I've heard that a lot.
I may
Yeah.
or may not feel that way. I'll reveal that in a little bit. Kayla Jaded from Gore Girls podcast commented yes with the double hands up in the air emoji. So I guess she's a big fan of this one.
That's the official title.
So I put my hands up.
That's all.
Mark _ Hef comment is the last comment we got. This is a great movie, very tense, and the main actress was great playing a deaf person. I like the serial killer. He was weekend serial killer. I don't know what that means, brother. Enjoyed this one. The budget must have been tiny and how impressive the movie it was. Mike will go over the money later on because, he's Money Mike. But that's all our social media comments. Ready to jump into fun facts? Dustin, you want to go first?
Yeah, we might as well. So I only got one, and it's not really even that fun of a fact, but it's interesting. So apparently this movie was shot in only 18 days. That's pretty impressive. But I sprinkled some other knowledge in there throughout the episode, so, this is the only one I got I didn't fit in somewhere.
I hear you. I got a few. Actually, the film contains less than 15 minutes of actual dialogue. So, it means more than 70 minutes occur without a single word spoken. The main character, Maddie, and her sister, Max, are named after Kate Siegel's real-life niece and nephew. And while we talked earlier about Gallagher having 3 horror movies come out in 2016, so did Flanagan. This one, along with Before I Wake and Ouija, Origin of Evil, which I have not seen either. And Dustin kind of brought up the Stephen King book, at the beginning of the movie, as Maddie plugs her computer, is Mr. Mercedes, another story about a psychotic serial killer whose motives are never explained.
My go here.
Go for
Money
it.
Mike, what was the budget like?
Hold on now. I actually have a fun fact.
Oh,
This film has been remade twice, both in India. Released in 2019, one for the Tamil language. I'm not going to try to butcher that. And one in the Hindi language. So there you go. It's been remade twice. Okay. The budget for this movie was a cool $1 million. That's it. And it shows sometimes. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's one location, very simple, clean film. I didn't find any gross or how much the movie made because I believe it came out at South by Southwest Film Festival and then straight to Netflix. So I don't really think there was any kind of gross from the film as far as any kind of release, DVD, theatrical, or otherwise. But I know it does well on Netflix because it's been there literally since 2016, and you know how they cycle those movies in and out. So I have a feeling that it probably does pretty damn well on there.
all righty. Let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill, in the rating. I'll kick us off. I'll go first. I didn't write anything down because I thought this was a pretty simple movie. There's no need to write any big Stephen A. Smith soliloquies this week. Favorite kill, I chose Sarah just because I thought the scene was great. See her running, like y'all mentioned, the jump scare of her running up to the door was great. The only nitpick I have with her kill is I wish she kind of would have ran away, maybe, instead of just staying there and letting him run up and stab her. But I really liked the scene. Maddie not being able to hear everything was awesome. Least favorite kill, I'm going to go with John. Just because this dude is giant. He could whoop this dude's ass. Like, even that guy admitted it. And why do you believe this guy's a cop when he has no cop uniform on? There's no cop car there. Like, what are you doing, John? Read the room. Rating. Got a lot of pros I've already mentioned. Love Flanagan. He did great. movie was shot great. Siegel was great. Just have some nitpicks. It just gets a little monotonous to me. The whole circling around the house, following this guy. I actually do agree. I think the mask taken off was too early in the movie. If you want to take it off, do it later, personally, because I'm with, Brian mentioned, I don't know if he feels this way, but I kind of feel like John Gallagher was a little miscast just because I don't buy him as a home invader, honestly. Just his face, his look just doesn't fit the bill to me. I'll tell you someone who I think would do a good job, and he was actually in Haunting of Hill. Well, of course, he can do anything. I'll say.
Sorry, I had to.
I think if you get from another Mike Flanagan actor from Hill House and Blind Man, I think Oliver Jackson Cohen would have been a good home invader. He's a big guy. I think he could pull off a creepy, evil invader. He was Luke in Hill House. I think he would have been a nice home invader. But I think this movie's okay. I think it's good, but it's not perfect. It's like I said, it gets a little monotonous. But what can I say? I like Mike Flanagan. I give it a 6. My third movie in a row, I gave a 6.
Oh wow, 666, way to go!
I don't like that.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Scary.
I'll go ahead and read Shan's. She said, so like I said last week, home invasion films are a special kind of horror because we should feel safe at home. Mike Flanagan and Kate Siegel found a way to crank that terror up a little bit more. The thought of being tormented by a killer and not having the ability to hear would make survival a little bit more difficult. Yeah. I think the film did a great job making you feel the terror and frustration Maddie was dealing with. Actually reminded me of The Invisible Man in that it really makes you feel like that you are in the shoes of the lead and how they feel. Biggest thing I liked with this movie is how they did so much with so little dialogue. This film is why I will gladly check out anything from Mike Flanagan. Rating, an 8.25.
Oh, shit.
Wow. Okay. So for me, this movie, like I said, it's a very okay movie. I do have my issues. I think that the cat and mouse was drawn out a little bit too long, like I said earlier. Like, if you're going to do the cat and mouse, but he was already inside, but now he can't get back inside, like that irritates me. So maybe do it differently. And then if you find out he can get inside this whole time, maybe do some cat and mouse from the inside, like he ties her up and he's just toying with her. Whatever. Man, I think this movie has a lot of good qualities to it. I think the acting is great. I think the casting is great. The writing is great. I do have my concerns with how early he took the mask off, how things unfolded, how he was just seemingly was okay with getting stabbed in his forearm with a hammer and knocked off a roof when he could get inside the whole time. Like, that's my biggest beef with it. I do wish that he hadn't been inside and taken her cell phone. I wish that the whole thing was the Wi-Fi / power being out. That's the reason she couldn't communicate with anyone. I wish that her ex-boyfriend would have came to save the day, or at least attempted to, and maybe gotten murdered in the process. That would have been fine with me. But overall, this movie is a movie, like I said, I will not seek it out, but I wouldn't avoid watching it again. If I'm ever scrolling through I watch something on Netflix and I'm not really watching TV, but Netflix popped up, watch it again. I might just click play on it just, for background noise. That's a great background noise movie. As far as kills go, my favorite kill, I'm going to have to go with Sarah, just because I think it was, like I said earlier, it kind of lulled me into a false sense of security, being like, oh, I forgot this was a horror movie. And then, boom, she's up against the wall or up against the windows, begging for her life, begging, please, Maddie, open the door, and then she's dead. My least favorite kill is going to have to be the man, just because, like, dude, don't be a punk. Like, you could have ended this a long time ago. Man up. Man up. That's it. So, as far as my rating goes, though, when I think of a movie that's very okay, that means it's not good, it's not bad, it's very average. This one's like a slight tick above that, so I'm going to go with a 5.25.
My man said, least favorite kill because, be a man. Man up.
Reminds me of that guy on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're getting shot in the back with an arrow, be a man. Or if
Man,
if
the
you're
fuck
if you're locked out of a house when you're trying to kill a woman, break in, be a man. That's it.
I don't even want to tell mine now because mine are the complete opposite, and that was a way better reason. My favorite death was the masked corkscrew guy, just because I thought it looked cool. But come on, be a man. Least favorite death though, I really don't have one. I think I just threw down Sarah just because I had to have one, but just because we don't actually see the stab, but that's brutal as fuck. I really loved that death, so I don't really have honestly a least favorite death. Overall, I think it's a good home invasion flick. It has its up and downs like we talked about, but I think there's more ups than downs, and high props for Flanagan and Siegel. I thought I was going to be the highest rating of this. I haven't heard Mike's yet, but Shan beat me anyway, so I gave it an 8.
Okay. Yeah, my favorite kill is masked, unmasked guy. My least favorite kill is John, just because I feel like he deserved a better on-screen death. If you're gonna die on screen, that one was kind of lame. So not like a ton. I think 3 people die in the movie, so slim pickings over here. And I think the Sarah death was good. So the process of elimination. I am a fan of the movie. I'm a fan of Mike Flanagan. I love the acting. I love the small cast. It's literally carried basically by 2 people. And I think they both do a good job in Gallagher and Siegel. I'm gonna real quick. I just wanted to touch on something that I think is the way that Nico and Brian both felt, and I totally respect that. But I actually like Gallagher's casting because he doesn't look like your stereotypical home invader. And I understand your reasoning because we watch these movies a lot and you have the same formula, and that's a good formula. I think of movies like The Strangers. We don't get to see them, but their masks are sick and sadistic and twisted looking, and that's your stereotypical home invader killer guy. And I just think this looks like a guy that could play the local gig at the bar down the street. And I understand why that might not be scary to some, but there's a part of me that thinks that makes him more terrifying, that he doesn't look like your big hulking, scraggly, homeless dude from the Rob Zombie universe. He just looks like any other guy off the street. And I think that kind of makes him a little more scary. And I think maybe I like the film more that way. It was a compliment to Rob.
No. You just gave me an idea, though. Imagine Bill Moseley as the invader, though.
Actually, but I wanted a chalk top. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Only one on this thing that likes that movie. I understand. But anyway, I just wanted to comment on that before I didn't get the chance to. So again, I like the movie. I think there's a little bit of a dip in the middle, but I don't think it's so bad that it loses my interest. It saves itself by the end. Really cool shots. Love the cinematography. Love the way it's lit. And I love the sound, and I love the idea this movie gives. And I love how it ends, and it kind of presents a really strong character. So all that being said, I also gave it the same score as Brian. I gave it an 8.
Wow. Okay. So that gives our composite score as a 7.1. IMDb has it as a 6.6 with over 124,000 votes. So we're like a 0.5 off.
We're close.
We know what we're talking about here.
That's right. Only when we're close. if otherwise, fuck them motherfuckers.
They don't know what they're talking about when we're off, but when they're right, they're right. I can't lie.
That's right.
Absolutely. Any more final thoughts before we shout out our blood donors? And now's my pick for next week.
I'm good.
Let's do it.
All right, let's shout out our blood donors. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all the real MVP. Our camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, and Sean Irwin. Our camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Karen Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, and Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast. Our legendary blood donors we still have film reviews to do for are Sean and Sarah Irwin. Looking forward to doing one of those blood donor reviews. With all due respect.
With all due respect, of course.
And our Dream Warrior blood donor is David Farley. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all really take a big burden off of us and help us out a lot. It means a lot to us. And I'll go ahead and announce my pick for next week in Home Invasion Month. This is a month I was looking forward to. I was torn between a few picks, and I'll touch on that next week just because I really like. I do like Home Alone, but
You're lucky I didn't pick it. Wet Bandits, baby. Let's go.
I'm a big fan of home invasion movies. They're just realistic and they get to me. But I chose Vacancy with Luke Wilson and Kate Beckinsale. I really like this movie. I'll tell my story the first time I watched it, but I think this movie is awesome. Looking forward to doing it.
Yeah.
Any more final thoughts tonight, guys, before we get out of here?
No, stick around for a little something from Michael Trucco. Don't forget.
Yeah, and also I just want to say, Sean, I feel bad about what I said earlier, but your question really threw me off when I read it. I was like, man, it was almost like when MTV News was saying, let's get Ja Rule on the line when they're asking about 9/11. Man, who gives a fuck what Ja Rule says at a time like this? Like, who cares if she's gonna stick around or not? She almost just died. But now that I'm removed from the situation, I can understand why you would ask that. So I just want to say I'm not hating on you, brother. Love you.
All right, y'all. Just thanks for everyone.
He'd probably like you more if you broke out around 2 a.m. and tried to steal the Declaration of Independence.
That's true. That's true.
Just want to say thank you to all fans. We really appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, and thank you for the support. You guys are awesome.
This is Michael Trucco coming to you live. Well, on tape delay from Los Angeles, California. Finally. It is truly my honor to get to take some time with you, spend a few minutes. I'm going to spend a few minutes, actually, because here's my shtick. I ramble. Love it or hate it, take it or leave it. I like to talk. And since you can't talk back and all you get to do is listen, sorry. Anyway, and so it is my distinct pleasure to get to be here today and talk about a few things that we seem to have in common, like our love for Hush and Midnight Mass. So anyway, here we are. This is my office, by the way. So I feel like, I get the vibe that you guys are really, really cool people. And I mean, I know that's weird to pick that up just in an exchange through some DMs and stuff. But I don't know. I get you. I think you guys are just, I don't know. I get the sense that you're cool people. So I'm going to take some extra time here and kind of walk you around. This is my office. Hey, hold on a second. There's like this buzzing. I got to turn this off. Is that better? And this is my setup. This is like where I do, interviews and podcasts and look here. Well, I'll show you around. Anders dude that just kind of hangs out and stares at me while I do my thing. Oh yeah, on the wall over there. Speaking of which, and actually check these two out. There's this artist that was online and she made these posters. Look at that one for Midnight Mass. And if you get really close, but I can't see how close are we. If you look at some of the A's, anywhere there's an A in Crystal or Michael, there's the number 4. And if you watch that show carefully, you'll know what that means. There's a cool one from Hush. So, yeah, then there's this other random paraphernalia, like the Pensacola poster of my first series where I met my wife, the lovely and talented Sandra Hess up there in the corner. There's the Battlestar stuff, some more of that. Yeah. I don't know if you care about any of that stuff. You're probably like, what are you doing? Well, like I said, you're a captive audience, and while I'm here, I'm just going to monologue, because that's what I do. Speaking of monologues, so you want to know about Hush, you want to know about Midnight Mass, obviously both from the extraordinary mind of Mike Flanagan. Here's a word that gets bandied about a lot in this business, genius, oh, that guy's a genius, that woman's a genius, she's brilliant, he's brilliant. And those are sort of hyperbolic statements that we use. We all kind of self-congratulate each other in this industry, like any other thing, and you get tired of hearing it, I'm sure. I reserve that term, or I try to, for people like Mike, who I believe truly is a genius, has attained the status of a creative genius. For him to, look at his track record is extraordinary. And not to mention all the films before I even got there, before Hush. Hush in of itself, both he and Kate wrote Hush. I don't know if you know that. He and Kate had met, I believe, on the movie Oculus. They fell in love, they got married. While they were engaged, or maybe they just got married, they went to a cabin out in the woods someplace, and in the 48-hour weekend, they banged out the script for, he thought I was going to say something else. I don't know what they did in those other 48 hours, but they banged out the script. Keep it clean. For Hush, like literally in a weekend. They had the concept and they wrote it together, put this movie together, shot it in something like 21 days on a super low budget, and it was extraordinary. And when they came to me, it took about a half an English second to say yes. I read that script and I was like, this is amazing. Even though I only show up for a little bit, I think I have something like 50% of the dialogue in the whole movie because nobody talks. I knew that I was in the presence of greatness the first day I met Mike Flanagan, his producing partner, Trevor Macy. They're just extraordinary people. Their whole crew, Mike Fimignari, the director of photography, these people are extraordinary up and down. And so I knew that I was in something special. And then, of course, he banged out Hill House and Bly Manor. Since then, Midnight Mass came along, jumped at the chance to get to be a part of that. The man's extraordinary. So, man, what can I say? You saw Midnight Mass, I'm assuming. The depth of storytelling under the veil of a horror show is really special because, it's unlike anything that's ever been done before, or I think since. And now we are in production. I say we, they're in Vancouver, I'm in Los Angeles. They've started production on the next project coming out sometime next year called The Fall of the House of Usher. And it's going to be lights out, going to be bonkers. If Midnight Mass, this is my analogy, if Midnight Mass is a beautiful piece of classical music that kind of lulls you in and crescendos to this incredible finish, but it has the meter and the depth of classical music, Usher is going to be punk rock. It's fucking heavy metal. Okay, it's a whole different level. But equally as creative and equally the storytelling and the narrative is crafted in a way that you would expect from Mike Flanagan. So, yeah, we're 6 minutes in, and I'm not sure you're even still awake. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave you, because I've taken up plenty of your time, with a little bit of advice. This is something that I've learned over the years. This is my advice to you. This is what I like to share with people. My advice to you: don't go out there. Are we cool? Okay, that's my advice. Don't go out there. What a pleasure talking at you for the last 7 minutes. I hope you enjoy this. Lots of love, lots of hugs. Be well. Take care.
Just want to remind everybody,